Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today we're going to talk about Dungeons & Dragons 5th Edition, and we are specifically going to talk about, the blue-red shift and why woke is in Dungeons & Dragons and how it's not as much of a stretch as people think. Alright, so, woke, trying to make the game more inclusive, trying to make the game more peaceful. One of my commenters recently said, "Hey, you said that woke is for peace, right? And but did you watch what was happening in some of the last summers? There was some really non-peaceful activity." Great point. That's true. Not all woke people are always peaceful. I do think that the word peaceful is connected to woke. And the reason why is woke people are absolutely not dedicated toward non-peaceful activities. They're not good at them, right? They don't have the tools. In fact, most non-woke people do not collect, use, have knowledge of non-peaceful tools, right? So non-woke people, a lot of times they have non-woke, non-peaceful tools right in the back on, a special rack in their pickup truck, right? So the reality, I think, is overall, if you look at a non-woke person, you look at a woke person, right? One is going to be really good with non-peaceful tools, and the other one's going to be really not good, right? Like, so even if they get, uppity and get a little ruckus in them, it ain't going to matter much, right? Like, because they're really bad with non-peaceful tools, right? So I get where you're coming from there, but I think overall peacefulness is put onto woke because they, at the macro level, they hard reject non-peaceful tools, which means at the end of the day, they're not good at not being non-peaceful, right? And that means all you're ever really going to get out of them is some Twitter squawk. You ain't going to, if push comes to shove, they ain't going to be good at the shove part, right? Like, so I really do think woke does align with inclusiveness and peacefulness, right? So a lot of people look at the woke part of Dungeons & Dragons, they're like, hey, I don't like this, man. Like, it's getting more woke, and that's terrible, right? Well, one, Dungeons & Dragons is a business, right? And I've been thinking about this, and I think if you think about Dungeons & Dragons, it makes sense for them to go woke from a business perspective, okay? Here's why, all right? So we got a game that has 7,000 pages of canon, right? Like, and so because of that, the game is for highly literate, highly confident, highly charismatic, highly intelligent, highly educated people, right? It's just, I don't think, Wizards of the Coast would never admit that. Hasbro would never say that. That's what it is. That's just it. And it's just going to be that way even more and more. And one of the main trends is that men are hard rejecting higher education, which means that going forward, men are going to be less and less capable of playing a game that has 7,000 pages of canon, right? Which, again, is just totally for super highly literate people, right? D&D is for super highly literate people. I do not think for a second that was the intent. It's just where we landed, right? And I do think WotC really wants the game to be for everybody, but that's unicorn smoke, man. Like, that ain't, like, that's a nice thing to say, but when you got 7,000 pages of content and you keep, dropping books like crazy, you're attracting a highly literate, group, right? So, here's the thing. Men are becoming less educated, which means men are going to become less capable of playing Dungeons & Dragons in the future, which means that the term we heard years ago, the future is female, is 100% true for D&D, right? The amount of women playing Dungeons & Dragons should go, the ratio of women to men playing Dungeons & Dragons should go way up. Not because women are being attracted to it more, but because men are going to be less capable of actually doing it, right? So that's just, the future of Dungeons & Dragons is, by all the metrics, looks like it's going to be female, right? So, but even more important than that, it's going to be educated, right? And guess what? As men at the macro level in shockingly fast, accelerated pace, right, abandon higher education, guess what? They're going to go red, That we know this. We already know this. This isn't debated, right? The more educated you are, the higher the percentage you are to be blue. And by the way, this is all American politics, right? So in America, if you're educated, you're blue, not red. And the less educated you are, generally the more likely you are to end up on the red side, right? So that means that the super educated people who are playing Dungeons and Dragons, they're going to be woke and they're going to be blue, right? They're going to be blue, and blue is way more aligned with woke than red. So by the numbers, by the metrics, by logic, okay, that means Dungeons and Dragons is absolutely, from a business perspective, should be going woke, which is exactly what they're doing. I'm not down with everything they do from a woke perspective, but I think we need to recognize patterns. And the pattern is, from business perspective, woke works, for them. I think we need to acknowledge it. That's my opinion. Love to hear your thoughts. Let me know in the comments below. Please consider liking, subscribing, and have a wonderful millennium.